dunking thing? You didn't tell us about that. What's the story?
Actually, well, I was there just rebounding for Brady yesterday for a little bit. Brady's my 10-year-old, and just looked down the side of the court, and they had those trampolines set up. I thought that would be fun. So I asked Lucky how to do it. I did ask that nobody tape it, but obviously that got lost in translation. And, it's proof I need to communicate a little bit better. But luckily the few tries before that didn't make it on the web because it wasn't quite as pretty.
What would you give yourself for the dunk? It was great.
Hey, it went in. Brady would give me a 10, so I'm in. A dunk for me is pretty unusual, so I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Did you ever dunk for real?
Did I ever dunk for real? No. Everybody's dunked. Everybody that's played says they've dunked, and they have at some point, but it's, with a flat ball and a 9'5" rim and, different. Yeah, I've done that.
How's Avery?
Avery's fine. James Young has a little calf strain from playing in Maine yesterday, so he's not available. Everybody else is available. Kelly's not available.
David Lee said we really want to talk to him about the way he's been playing.
I just sent a text after I watched a little bit of the comeback against Denver when it was a great game. It was a great win for them, and just saw last night the box score, and they won. It looks like pretty handily, but hey, it's as much as you go through with everybody, and guys play or don't play or whatever the case may be, you want everybody that leaves here to do well. And so, we're rooting for him to do well and happy for the way he started.
How tough of a choice was that for you at the time? Because, that's a veteran guy who's in your starting lineup at the start of the season. How much was that? The numbers kind of started to add up there.
Yeah, that was hard. It was really hard. And it was really hard for him. It's harder on him than anybody else. But it was, we talked about it a lot. We didn't have hardly any injuries with our bigs. And we had a lot of bigs that, especially at the end of games, were going to be in relatively the same position. And so it put a lot of guys on the bench, and it was different guys at different times. And, to his credit, when we eventually settled on playing others, he handled it really well. And, kudos to him. And I'm happy he's doing well.
He said he got in much better shape after being dropped from the rotation. Is that kind of frustrating for you that he needed that to...
Jay, I don't know if that's how, I don't know if that is semantics or how he meant to say. I think the biggest thing that he was probably saying there is that when you're not playing, you have to find other ways to stay ready. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that he certainly took diet. He worked out hard. He worked out hard enough that if he would have played, he would have been gassed in the games. That's, sometimes you can't do that if you're going to be playing 15 minutes a night. He was going 2 or 3 times hard a day during that stretch, and so no, I wasn't frustrated by it. In fact, I thought it set a pretty good example for the other guys that weren't playing.
Do you still think of as Shelvin and Gordon as your guys?
Yeah, not my guys. I think it just all of us as a team. There's always going to be that feeling, and I saw those guys grow up. I was, they made my day when they committed to Butler at different times, but in the same class, and nobody could be more proud of those two than me. Especially watching them now play together and starting together. It's pretty cool.
What's it like coaching against them?
It stinks. Not necessarily because I love being out there. I love competing against them. If I was coaching the blue team in practice and they were on the white team a few years ago, I was going to try to do the very best I could to not let them have a good day. But they're really good. And Shelvin started off great for Utah as we thought he would. It's as we've seen many times, it's about opportunity and fit as much as anything else in this league. And then Gordon has established himself as one of the better young players in the league. And that's been a great growth process for me to watch because, when he committed to Butler, he was a tennis player that played basketball and was growing into his body and, wasn't near what he is now. It's just been, to watch him the last 8 or 9 years has been pretty incredible.
What was Shelvin like when you pulled him out of Lexington, and how did you get a pretty good player out of Lexington?
Well, he wasn't heavily recruited until after he committed to us. It was kind of that type of deal, and but he was great. He really wanted to be there. He really worked. He was always working. He was always in the gym. He was probably one of our bigger gym rats that we had over that time. And, you know, he's also a really relational guy. Like, he really enjoys team. He really enjoys people. I said when we were in Utah, like, he was staying at the same hotel, and my family was with me because they were on break. And, you know, he came up and saw them right when he got there. And so he's a really good guy, and I think he'll just add to that culture. They've got a good young group of players, and, you know, they pounded us last week, and they've had some great moments, and those two guys are going to continue to have great moments as part of that organization.
You talked about how they've grown and matured and changed. How have you changed since you were?
Yeah, I mean, I just think you should grow, you should get better, you should improve. If you're stagnating or you think you've got it figured out, you're going to get caught. And I think that, you know, I feel bad that those guys had to be coached by a guy that young and that dumb.
Brian, Chris Johnson's kind of edged the wall. Saw you. It's a conclusion. I mean, it seems like he's worked really hard to
Yeah, I think that he would. I think that if you asked around just the guys that were here, especially that first year and then through the summer, the next year, that he's one of the favorite guys that have been through here. Just his work ethic. I thought right when we signed him to that 10-day a few years ago, and he checks in the game against Miami and has a huge game and gives us a chance to win. He's not scared of anything. He's a great runner. Plays really hard. You know, I'm happy for him too, and you know, I feel really. It's great that he's stuck, because guys like that should stick with the way that he goes about his business.
Brett, I know you're a fan of the game, but did you get a chance to see what Steph did Saturday night, Steph Curry?
I mean, my son had two friends sleeping over, and we were all watching the game. You know, it was great. It was great as a fan to watch and see, and you know, the NBA, and I've gotten a chance to grow up and see some of the greats play and see some of the greats make plays, and you know, it was fun to watch a group of 10-year-olds react to all those shots and react to all those things going in, and you know, it's fun. It's why the game's great.
Have you ever coached against a team where they had a player where if they're across half court, they would be a threat to pull up and do what he did?
Twice a year. Twice a year since I've been here. I mean, that's a very, very few guys. I think the amount of difficulty that he hits shots with is incredible. You know, and it's interesting. I mean, there are a few guys though that are having incredible years and doing incredible things, and you know, might not be talked about quite as much. But you know, I think the whole idea of range and extending range and widening the court for everybody else with your range, it's in vogue, and he's taken it to a new level.
You talk a lot about positional versatility. You just mentioned widening the court. Rodney Hood's really developed.
Yes.
Do you observe those things in him, the ability to stretch the floor, play different roles, and how good do you think he can become?
Well, I think he's playing well. I think he's obviously a very capable catch and shoot player, which was probably more his reputation than anything else coming out. But his with the ball game is really good, and he's playing great off pick and rolls. He can drive right, drive left, and finish. He makes difficult shots. He and Hayward have both made incredibly tough shots to win games or send games to overtime or to come back in games and ultimately give them a chance. And you know, guys with size like that can do that are hard to guard.
Is he a good example of how the draft isn't an exact science, considering how much he's improved as a ball handler?
Yeah, I would say that would be the case, and you know, kudos to him. It's not about where you're drafted. It's about how you work and how you perform, and you know, that night will wear off eventually. You gotta, you know, and at some point you got to do that. And he's clearly a worker. He's done well.